This is Live from the Table, the official podcast of the world-famous Comedy Cellar, available wherever you get your podcasts, available on YouTube for that multimedia experience. This is Dan Naturman. I'm here with Noam Dworman. He's the owner of the Comedy Cellar.
Caught me in the middle of a text message. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And Periel Aschenbrand, of course, joins us, and we are a skeleton crew today, just the three of us. By the way, Noam, I just walked by the McDonald's, a.k.a. the Menachem Dworman Comedy Theater. I believe that's what you're going to be calling the new room.
Yes, I'm hoping to, yeah.
And, well, the work is going apace, it seems to me. So we're still on schedule for a 2025 opening?
Yeah, no, it's 2025, yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's this year, okay. So there'll be 5 rooms if you're counting. 5, not 1, 2, 3, 4, but 5 rooms here in the New York City area. And we have our fingers crossed that we can fill those rooms. I say we. I'm not really in charge of that. But Noam is obviously confident that he can fill that room. But of course, if worst comes to worst, we can just make the fat black pussycat rooms. We turn them back into a bar and a lounge.
I'm gonna have to cut this text message short, and the person who gets it, if he, at some point I'm gonna be able to show it to him. Listen, I'm sorry, but they started the show without me, so okay.
Okay, well.
Okay, go ahead. I did it. Go ahead.
I'm saying if you can't fill the McDonald's,
I didn't mean sell.
you can turn the Fat Black Pussycat Lounge and Bar back into a bar and a lounge. I don't know if that thought's crossed your mind.
That's like my worst nightmare. I'd hate to have to do that.
Okay.
It was a very unpleasant. Running a bar, it was fun when you were younger and you wanted to get some, but. At this point in my life, to be woke up in the middle of the night by some idiots having a fight at the pool table, or somebody grabbed somebody's girl and there's fights. I just don't need that. It's a very, very stressful way to live, running a bar.
I mean, you can still get woken up in the middle of the night with issues at the comedy club, I assume. So I guess that's less often.
Like Artie getting.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there was a flood. There was a flood, right? When Al Franken was on stage.
Yeah, that was terrible. No, of course, there's always issues, but a fight is the worst issue, because fights, of course, not always, but can lead to lawsuits, and lawsuits are just a nightmare.
Didn't you get a call once that somebody almost burned the place down?
Well, that wasn't while we were open. Yes, on my honeymoon. I got a call that that place almost burned down. Yeah,
I didn't know that was on your honeymoon.
Yeah, I was in Israel.
That's an odd place for a honeymoon.
Now it is.
But I think even then, it's a honeymoon. You think tropical, no worries, stress free.
Israel is. I mean, this we talk about 2010. Israel was tropical. Is it
Still is.
It's not really tropical.
It's gorgeous. I mean,
it's got palm trees. I don't know what the definition of tropical is.
What could be more?
Well, I guess the definition of tropical is it lies between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer.
Is that the definition?
I think so. I mean, you can look that up.
Tropic light, tropic-like climate,
semi-tropical. I think.
And when you're there, it seems like a pretty tropic climate. There's no coconuts. They have coconuts? I don't even know.
I don't think they have.
No, they have
coconut.
Plenty of dates.
I mean, they could have filmed Gilligan's Island just as easily there as anywhere else. I don't
think it's that weird of a place for a honeymoon if you have like some affinity toward Israel. It's a beautiful.
I think honeymoon. I think could have relaxing on the beach. This Israel.
Yeah, Israel beaches.
Well, no, but
are you an anti-Semite?
No, but
where would you go on your honeymoon, Dan?
Well, I think of Hawaii as a honeymoon type, Tahiti, St. Bart's.
You're going to pay by the hour to go to Hawaii, Dan? Anyway, so we went to Italy, France, and
okay, well, Italy and France, okay.
And Israel, and they gave Juanito a hard time with security getting onto the flight at El Al, but it was a great honeymoon. Whatever. I just had my 15th wedding anniversary last week.
Wow, I remember it very vividly. Your wedding, Tom Papa officiating. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
wait. Does that feel like, what is 15 years?
15 years is nothing. I mean, it's just astounding the way time goes faster and faster.
It depends. It depends what your frame of reference is. Like, if I think about my daughter, who was born, a year after we got married, it just seems like yesterday that she was born.
Really?
Yeah, if I just think about my daughter, it's like, oh my God, it was just yesterday. It went so fast.
And to her,
If I think about my wet marriage, I say, it feels like fucking forever.
but to your daughter,
Imagine what Juanita feels like.
How did that much time of a marriage take so long to have this blink of an eye girl grow up? I don't know.
well, to Mila, it seems like a very long time. It's her whole life. So
Yes.
it obviously seems like a
Yes.
tremendously long time.
It's incredible.
Anyway, I don't know what to discuss because if I start discussing my cruise, Noam's going to do the snore sound.
Well,
We were supposed to have Omer Bartov.
Omar Bertov.
Omer Bartov, who's we're gonna discuss the genocide accusation.
we'll do that next week.
Well, we don't need
That's
him. I don't know that you need him to discuss the genocide act. I mean,
No, but he's a genocide expert.
well, what is a genocide expert? I mean, genocide is a definition, and you apply it to the situation.
A genocide expert is somebody who is steeped in historical examples and judicial opinions, who can make the case. But anyway, I had a colonoscopy this morning, and I didn't expect to be
Available.
Yeah, and I was also in the back of my mind when you get a thing like this, say, what if there's bad news, you know? So I just canceled, but then I was feeling fine. So
And the news was good.
the news is good. Yeah, no.
Is it clear, all clear? We'll see in 10 years.
7 years.
Is it 7 years?
No, I think the first time I had a colon, this is
My first one, they said 10.
well because the first time I had a colonoscopy at 50, I had a small polyp.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts you in a certain risk category. So then I had one again in 5 years, one again in 5 years, and now they moved it out to 7 years.
So,
Now, did you enjoy the knocking out part, or is that not so interesting to you?
Well, it's interesting. First of all, I just 2 weeks earlier, I had a wisdom tooth pulled, and it's a different. That put to sleep to that as well.
you're completely under for the wisdom?
Yeah, but it was a different drug, I guess.
Are you
Different
not as smart
experience.
now?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, I had this.
No, we need to acknowledge Periel's wordplay or whatever. You know, wisdom.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, okay.
I had the wisdom tooth pulled, and I did not even after the surgery. I did not have 1 minute of
Grogginess.
no, not just pain. I could not even tell if the tooth they pulled was at the top or the bottom of my mouth. Like I'm not even like I want to go to the dentist and verify that the tooth is out. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. I had serious dental work with stitches. I did not take any painkillers, and I did not feel anything.
No, but when you came out of the anesthesia, were you loopy?
No, I wasn't loopy.
Wait a second.
I don't get loop. I don't do loopy.
That's insane. So immediately after you couldn't tell, maybe you were still numb. What about like a few hours later?
Never. I never felt.
Well, they have to give you painkillers. They're ripping a tooth out.
They didn't give me any painkillers. They gave me a bottle of painkillers that I could take. So what they did is I woke up, which was weird, with like a mouthful of Novocaine. So I
That's
guess
a painkiller.
Yeah. So I guess what they did is they gave me some Novocaine, just tied me over, right? And then so I was expecting it to come. Oh, it's gonna wear off. And then they gave me this bottle. You can't get the good stuff anymore. They gave me a bottle of like the heavy duty Advil, whatever it is. I kept waiting for it, and then Novocaine went away. Nothing.
Well, how heavy duty could Advil be unless they give you like, a pill that's like 6 of them?
I don't know. Yeah, they do give you, and then they tell you to Advil and Tylenol. They don't want to give you oxycodone anymore, but it doesn't matter because I didn't need it. I never had any
That's
pain.
crazy.
So that was that.
Are you sure they actually did surgery?
I don't know. So
Did you go back to the dentist and have him check?
I'm going to go back. So that was that experience, but I don't know what chemical they give you for that IV. So then this one, I guess, was
You get propofol.
propofol. Yeah, and this one I dreamed.
Oh, I didn't have a dream.
I had dreams that Mustafa and I were arguing about this latest thing in Israel with the IDF soldiers were shot at people who were getting aid. And that was literally my dream because I'm very upset about this thing. And I know he's upset about it. But what was interesting about this, I wear a Aura ring. And the Aura ring did not detect me as having slept.
Well, it's not sleep.
Well, I guess not.
It's some other state. But I didn't know you could dream during that state. I never had a dream. To me, I was just switched off and I turned and then I woke up with no intermediary.
Well, maybe I fell asleep while I was in that state.
It could be that in the state between when they start to bring you out of it, that could have been
Yes.
not more of a hallucination than a dream.
Well, whatever. I felt. I mean,
Or not even a hallucination, but maybe you had a dream in that space. Like it feels like you were dreaming the whole time, probably, but maybe it was just like
I have
30
no
seconds.
It's probably when they were pulling you out that you started dreaming. I would imagine.
I have no idea.
But it's like being switched off. I mean, that really made me not believe in God of all things. You know, it's like if there's any evidence that there's nothing beyond, consciousness is simply a function of the physical process, because they can turn you off like a light switch, and and you're not there, and then they bring you back, and now you're back. But I don't know if that makes any sense. But it's
Now, Dan.
it's just your brain. You think your brain is there's something more than just the physical biological processes going on. As it turns out, no, it's just a bunch of biological processes, which they can switch off.
The week before last, you guys did a podcast without me, it was very well reviewed.
Oh, was it? It wasn't that well reviewed.
Yeah.
Who reviewed it well?
Some suits
Okay.
who are going to be contacting you about maybe giving you a gig.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. You don't know this yet?
I had no idea.
They're so fucking slow. Yeah. They've been talking about this already for 10 days.
A radio gig?
So this this company that does this
Like iHeart shit?
online podcast, interactive podcast, like with callers and stuff. They told me they want to contact you about maybe trying you out for a show.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I said. Yeah.
I didn't know. What about Periel?
They didn't mention. No, maybe Periel too. I don't know. I don't know. It was just noted like Dan was very good. And
Yeah,
do you think he'd be interested in? I said, yeah, hell yeah.
Well, if there's money involved.
Oh, yeah, of course there's money involved.
I don't know. Nowadays, everything is
I said he'll work cheap.
Anyway, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
so
good
I've been
news.
to listen to it. I heard you guys are very good.
Thank you. I mean, I was here also in my defense.
Yeah.
Well, all right. We'll see. Well, maybe they'll
Maybe he'll keep you around, Periel, if he gets an offer.
we'll see.
Well, I mean, I'll take it one step further. I'd like to. I think that I bring out something in him. If we're being honest, I got some feedback about that too.
What did you get?
Well, she needled me about why I get stage fright, trying to.
I don't know. Needled is really a fair.
Because I was going on a cruise, which I've just done, and I was very anxious about it, as I tend to be, because I get stage fright. Even after all this time.
I do too. When I was playing, every night I get some stage fright.
I mean, because it may not even be rational. Periel was trying to logically talk me through it. Like, well, you've done this 1,000 times, well, more than 1,000, and it's always, usually goes well. So, why would you be afraid? And I have no answer to that, other than that it's sort of I think just an innate primal fear that people have.
I mean, I was.
Ray Allen doesn't get stage fright.
No, Ray Allen doesn't. No, Ray Allen is cool as a cute. And Chappelle, I mean, if I had to guess, doesn't seem to be even remotely bothered. He's quite at home up there.
Well, I mean, just to push back on that a little bit for the purpose of conversation, watching you, one would never think that you're having stage fright.
No, that's not true.
I disagree.
I can see when Dan's in the zone and when he's a little
okay, but that's fine. I'm not that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying as a general note, I've watched him perform so many times. It's not like you're watching him on stage and you're like, he looks like nervous.
Well, the nerves generally are more before I go on.
Okay. So once you're on,
Typically, once I'm on,
Yeah.
it's okay.
No, but yes, but
unless Esty walks in the room.
yeah, but
Or
what I do notice
or
is
Noam.
or no, like unless I feel I'm being I'm being graded.
scrutinized. Yeah, well, I notice that certain people, even when they're doing badly, even when the audience is not laughing, even when they're bombing,
Yeah.
they don't care. Right? You don't see them react to it. They just move on, whatever. But Dan, if he's having and this is not a criticism because I'm no different, when he's having a B- set, a B set, he's sweating bullets. Like, I could probably watch the set without the audio of the audience. And just by watching his set, I could probably tell, just watching him, I could probably tell you how he was doing.
And is that because you know him so well for so long, or is that just,
No, I think it's pretty obvious.
Because it's obvious.
I think it's obvious.
But you're saying anyway, it's usually more before.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm not doing well, then then I start to get flustered.
That's hell, yeah.
No, that's never fun.
But well, I'll let you know what happens with.
How was your cruise?
With the cruise? We went to Canada. Like one of the stops was Boston. I was off the cruise by that time. Because the cruise went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, which, it looked like New Brunswick, New Jersey. I don't know what the interest is. I guess there's some interesting things around there. I just kind of got off the ship and walked around and got back on the ship. And then I flew home from Sydney via Montreal. But the ship went on. It stopped in Boston. So I did get a joke out of it because the name of the ship was the Island Princess. I said, this is the first time I've done a cruise that stops in Boston. Is this the Island Princess or the Amtrak Princess?
That's good.
Yeah, that did pretty well. And
I guess that means that your show went well since you got off the boat and walked around, because he was saying that he doesn't like to get off.
No, I was saying I don't like to get off if there's a tender. The little boat, the little boat that takes
insane.
you to the. It's not insane.
Go ahead.
There's a little boat, the tender, that takes you. If the ship cannot dock right at the dock, it has to anchor out to sea. There's a little boat that takes you in, and little boat. If you didn't do well, and you're in the little boat with people that saw you not do well,
That makes sense.
It can be awkward. Whereas this ship just docked on the dock, and I walked out, and again, it's like
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to you. You're gonna be like in close quarters with like in an elevator with people after you just bombed.
Well, I don't know. I think that he's thinking about it a lot more than anybody else is thinking about it,
you're the
and I
weird
think
one.
it's quite unusual for him to bomb. And so, what's going on in his mind is probably
This was particularly, she's referencing a bad set I had on a Ritz-Carlton cruise.
Periel,
Here we go.
there's just different types of people. Like, do you mind going to the bathroom in front of your husband?
Pee or poop?
But both.
Well, no, not either. Both. Those are two very
I'm
different.
asking you each.
Pee, no problem at all, and no, I don't.
Because some people like.
That's gross.
I don't like to go to the bathroom at all in front of my wife.
You don't like to pee. You won't pee in front of your wife.
I will under protest, but I don't like it. I just don't like. I like to have my own bath. I don't like to shower in front of her. I just like my own privacy.
Wait, so what do you mean you don't like to shower in front of her?
I will take a shower with her. Taking a shower with someone is different. I just don't like to be watched. I don't know. It's like in the bathroom. Now Juanita, she could not care less. Pee, poop, nothing bothers her. She would not get stage fright.
No, she wouldn't.
Yeah.
So you think there's a correlation between stage fright and going to the bathroom in front of a significant other?
It'd be really weird if there weren't. If you think about
Maybe,
it.
yeah.
Pooping in front of somebody is very different than peeing in front of them.
Yes, I agree with that too.
Well, you have a large enough house where one can go to another part of the house and do their disgusting business elsewhere.
But we have only one, expensive Japanese. What's it? Neo Rest toilet.
Well, I don't know the brand.
What is that? It has it washes your butt afterwards?
Yeah. And nobody wants to use any other toilet than that.
That's funny.
This is an amazing technology.
Well, no, and it's not. What, squirting water up your butt's an amazing technology in the era of artificial intelligence? This is what you find to be amazing?
Well, it triangulates.
Right.
It finds her butt, my butt, her, front. It finds everything.
Her front?
Well, that is a little more interesting,
Yeah.
technologically speaking.
It is an amazing technology.
Why don't we all have those toilets?
I don't know. In Japan, they all do.
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody doesn't have them here. It's one of the best, dollar for dollar, the best things I ever bought in my entire life.
Are you serious?
And so you don't use toilet paper at all, and then it dries you.
It dries you. It has a hand dryer that
Like a hand that comes up and wipes you?
Like a hand dryer, but it comes up to your butt, and it's got different settings. The water's heated. It's just an amazing thing. It's a game. It's a totally different thing.
Well, it's been around a while. I don't think this is a new technology.
It's not.
Well, they have bidets and stuff, but I'm just...
No. This specific thing has been around for at least, how long?
I didn't say it was a brand new technology.
It's just for you.
Well, in America, you don't see it very often. In Japan, you see it in a public park. Like, it's every toilet in Japan. You You don't see one that's not like that in Japan. Because in Japan, they don't vandalize things. They don't write graffiti on them. They don't destroy them. Here, it wouldn't last 5 minutes in a public place. But having said that, even a lot of well-to-do people don't have them in their houses. And you would think every well-to-do person would have it in their house because it's...
Well, it's not even that... How expensive is it?
It's a few $1,000s. Yeah. But I think you can probably get them cheaper.
Well, maybe we should get one.
Maybe we should get a sponsor. Because I don't like... One of the reasons I don't want to do ads is I don't want to have to say, I wear Quince sweaters.
Yeah.
I don't want.
You believe in this product? So
yes, they don't have to write copy for me.
Have the kids gotten their hands on it yet?
The entire house wants to use this toilet. Nobody wants to use any other toilet. I said, why don't you just get another one?
Yeah.
She's like, no. Like that's how Juanita is. She'll just get contrary. I'm like, why not? Get another toilet for the guests and for the kids.
Yeah. No. She will. She's going to replace every toilet in that house.
She has to think of it, and then we'll get it.
Speaking of technology, Periel referred me to an article about a man that's his wife. They're having marital problems because the husband's is obsessed, is addicted to ChatGPT, and think I don't know if this is a real story.
No, I think it is. I checked it a little bit. It looks like a real story. This woman said that ChatGPT,
you say it like an Egyptian,
has ruined their marriage because all the husband wants to do is talk to ChatGPT. And
funny that she's blaming ChatGPT and not herself. Like she must be a live wire.
I don't know. No, don't just blame her. Like do you think this is, bless you, you think this is normal that this guy is like fallen in love with this?
I don't believe he's in love with ChatGPT.
He is. He even named her Lumina.
Oh, he even named her.
I think she came up with the name.
ChatGPT.
Well, I will say, you're talking to this thing. The illusion is very powerful that you're talking to a human being. And, I could see...
I haven't had that experience.
Well, do you feel like you're talking to a person? To the point where you're almost like embarrassed sometimes to say certain things, or
I don't have conversations with it like that. I only use it in like a sterile way. I'm sure I could. I'm asking it questions. What about this? What about that? I don't ask it how it's feeling and stuff like that.
I mean, sometimes I've gotten mad at it.
No, I don't.
I just like if it's not giving me the answer I want, if it's not telling me, oh, it's nothing, it's just anxiety. It says, well, yeah, you might want to see it. You might want to go to the ER. then I start to get pissed off.
No, there are people that feel that it has insight, that it reads their soul. I've had one very famous journalist's wife tell me that she thinks it has a certain supernatural ability. So people have these weird ideas about it.
Well, because it's so astounding technologically.
It's like it's like witchcraft.
It is.
I didn't. Someone else said
like GPS, not GPT. GPS, as astounding as it is, I understand it. I get you send a signal. It's unbelievable, but it's like I can explain it. You sent a signal, and it took, a 2 microsecond, whatever it, and then you from the other satellite, and you figured out where the thing. But ChatGPT, I can't. I'm sure somebody understands it. Although we had that woman in here that says nobody really understands it, which is hard to believe. But
it's not that nobody understands it; is that it does things that the people who program it can't understand. I'm sure it's exaggerated in some way, but because this thing is learning and because it has like neural networks, it does things that the people couldn't predict, which is not quite the same thing as
can't explain.
That they can't explain yet. But they don't know what it's capable of quite.
Well, we're just at the dawn of this whole thing.
Yeah, we're just at the dawn. It's amazing, and its ability to reason and to tweak prose and things like that. It's tremendous. My kids use it all the time. So, like my daughter, we fed ChatGPT a PDF of her textbook and asked ChatGPT to generate a multiple choice quiz, and then after she'd mastered that, generate a short answer section, and just quizzing her on her course material. It's fantastic. She still got an F.
They say it's making
Did she
people.
really?
No, she had
They do say, I have read that it's making people dumber because they're.
it's making her smarter.
Well,
I'm
if
not talking about her. I'm talking about in general that like it's requiring a lot less mental work from people. So like they are having that write something, so their skills are deteriorating or not being formed.
Yes, that's for sure. Like calculators have done for people's arithmetic.
but on the other side, if you use it to learn, you can
Sure,
you can-
absolutely.
there's I mean, I don't know what as far as professions that are going to be replaced, I would imagine teachers might be the first to go.
Well,
Everything.
Well, they're saying that like companies are buying up like independent like plumbing companies because that's something that they don't think that like AI can take over, and also dentist offices, like stuff that really requires like very
Manual.
technical
Requires manual.
handiwork.
Yes, unless they invent robots that can do that.
But they're
But
saying
that technology is not, as we've
Right,
discussed in a previous episode, is not at the same level as the
Immediately,
the
they should
software.
replace everybody in the postal system, the motor vehicle bureau, like every profession where you have somebody like talking rudely to you and not wanting to help you. Like all these professions. All those jobs can be done better by AI. I want AI to answer the phones in my place too. I want AI to answer the customers' questions. It'll never get it wrong. It never gets exasperated. It never gets impatient.
Well, you were saying you wanted to put the website to integrate ChatGPT into the Cellar website.
Yeah.
But have you done that yet? I guess not.
I've requisitioned it. I've commissioned it, but everything takes long now. I've noticed that in my career, as you get to be somebody's kind of best customer, you don't get the best service. Like you get to they put you at the bottom of the pile.
Well, you become family. Or I guess
I don't know what it
they
is.
take you for granted.
Like when you're a new customer, they want to please
They
you.
want to win you over.
Yeah.
You've already been won over.
Yeah, but at a certain point, it's like, and I don't want to sound worse than it is, but like these people you're dealing with, lawyers and all various professionals, they're struggling to make a living. People think everybody's rich. They're not. And if they get new business coming in, they want to satisfy that new business to establish a new customer. So I understand they prioritize new money. But boy, I can't get anything done anymore. I can't get anything done. And it's, and I don't feel like yelling and screaming anymore like I used to, and I don't feel like having fallings out with people and bad blood. So I'm just half the man I used to be.
Oh my God. I mean, the
true.
drama.
Well, unless you find somebody else to do it, and then you become the new customer.
Yeah.
Whoever's doing your website, you find someone.
Yeah,
else.
but taking your business elsewhere
No, but
is more than anything I would even consider. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I did order this stuff. Nothing's getting done.
well, that's outrageous with all due respect.
That's outrageous.
It is outrageous.
Well, you have to do it like a whole. I mean, how much is the new room going to affect the website? You actually have to add the show. I guess it's not that big a deal. You just have to add in.
No, but if people aren't doing the work that they're being paid to do, what do you mean? Why are you laughing? It's outrageous. It is
I'm laughing
outrageous.
because this is like total naivete.
No, it's not. You yelled at me the other day for
This is
saying
like
something I've been
you
doing this
are
for 40 years.
You are Mamdani.
All right, well, that's a good segue. We'll get
you
to him.
think you're just gonna go and you're gonna take care of it, and we're gonna freeze the rents, and we're gonna fix the grocery stores, and we're gonna. It's like
I guarantee you,
nothing's gonna. You're gonna fix the schools. We're gonna. These kids are gonna start doing better. They're gonna start doing their homework. It's all nonsense. Nothing's gonna happen.
I guarantee you that if whoever thought that you were about to take yourself someplace else and there was a real risk of losing whatever work you're giving them, suddenly people start to take that seriously.
Yes, at some point, yes, but in general, this notion that this is an outrage. You should be able to just say, It just doesn't work that way.
And why are you comparing me to Mamdani?
I just told you why. Because
Wait. Somebody wrote in and they said, we're so excited to hear Noam's take on Mamdani.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
we should. Somebody also wrote in that says we should do like viewer mail every week, and we really should. So if you send your questions to podcast@comedycellar.com, we should have a thing at the end of every episode.
It's great.
Maybe the beginning.
It's a great idea.
Where we answer the questions. So I don't know. What's your view on Mamdani?
Well, I mean, like all other political things, you're a lot more informed than I am.
I don't follow this.
There's two issues people have with him. Number one, his socialism, his belief in, and obviously I know you feel very strongly about rent control and rent freezes and anti-inflationary measures of such as that. And then there's the Jewish oriented. As far as I know, what he said about Israel is I think he said it shouldn't be a Jewish state. It should be a state for everybody. And he supports BDS, and he wouldn't condemn the phrase globalizing intifada, though he says he doesn't use that phrase. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of the rundown of but I would imagine you're more concerned about his economic positions. Mayor doesn't do foreign policy, and obviously it's not ideal, but
I'm concerned about it all. I mean, look, I know Eric Adams is. I'm just going to stipulate that he's corrupt in some way, because everybody says he's corrupt. Excuse me, and I know that that's the colonoscopy.
Well, that's how I feel about John Bonham's drumming. Everybody says he's the best, so I guess I'll just go with that.
And I know that people don't like that he played footsie with Trump, but I don't know that New York, like, is there any big thing that's gotten worse in New York since he's been mayor? To me, if you're in charge and things pretty much stay the same, and we had a little crime spike, but it seems to have abated now. Like, I don't see why do people hate Eric Adams so much?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. And so, like, the status quo, I'm not that unhappy with, especially if
you don't like congestion pricing, but
well, that's not Eric Adams.
That wasn't him.
I'm not sure Eric Adams likes it either. And if the shit hits the fan with some sort of police episode, which happens, every so often, and it will happen again, I much prefer Eric Adams's reflexes than I'm sure I'm going to feel about Mamdani's reflexes. I much prefer Eric Adams to have been my mayor than de Blasio or Mamdani when we were worried about rioting in the streets and who would protect the stores and stuff like that. Yes, the economics. I mean, Larry Summers, Paul Krugman, like the most reliable Democratic economists say. Larry Summers had a tweet. There's two ways to destroy a city: bombing and rent control. Like, this is a liberal rent control is a ridiculous idea that doesn't work. I'm old enough to remember all the burnt out buildings. You are too, Dan. You can see all the miles and miles of burnt out buildings.
The South Bronx used to be a punchline, and now it's actually kind of they're building like crazy.
It's fun that Mamdani lives in a $2 million apartment in Chelsea too.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a. If anybody's wondering,
$2 million for this city is not.
I don't have rent control apartments. I don't make my money in real estate anyways. It's not a. I want New Yorkers to be able to have affordable housing. Everybody I know who has, not everybody I know, but most people I know who have rent stabilized apartments are wealthy people who've had the apartment for 30 years. They got it from their parents. I mean, it's an outrage. To me, rent stabilization is about allowing well-to-do people to keep their steals. The apartment's so cheap it's a steal. And of course, if landlords can't, I mean, I don't want to say, I don't put my foot in my mouth because I don't know the law enough. But owning a building is like owning any other business, and people need to be able to make a profit. And if they can't make a profit, they're going to cut corners on maintenance and they're not going to build more of them. And the city doesn't want you to build more of them. Anyway, the city's a fucking mess. And this is my big worry. Okay, I'll tell you my big worry. I lived through the bad times in the 70s when there was crime and the city was underwater financially and everything seemed to be falling apart. But at that time, people really had no place else to go. The industries which were based in New York, whether it was Wall Street or show business, or I don't even know what they were at the time, garment district, you name it. They just had to grin and bear it because you could not up and leave New York City at that time. Where were you going to go? Seattle, right? Atlanta. Now, if New York were to descend into another bad time, like a really bad time, I fear that it will be like rats leaving a sinking ship. The entire financial industry, Wall Street, which New York is completely dependent on, does not need to be in New York. It can be run from any bedroom, on planet Earth. You don't need, I don't know all the details, but it used to be like you had to go on the floor and sell. Mm-hmm. It was a real thing. It's all automated now. It's all digital. And if the people who do these jobs can't live here nicely, have nice homes, live affordably, have families, send their kids to these, and on top of that, it gets worse. They say, "Fuck this shit, I'm out of here," and that can cascade and it can pick up steam, snowball. So I'm just very worried because I'm so rooted here with the Comedy Cellar. I'm worried that New York could take a turn for the worse, as it has cyclically in the past. But this time, there's no bottom. This time, there's no countervailing force of the necessity of being in Manhattan. And I'm afraid that the bottom could fall out in Manhattan. Now, that's an alarmist view. Probably won't happen. There's museums. I know there's all sorts of things in New York. But that's what I'm afraid of. And a guy like Mamdani, as naive and out of touch as he is about what it means to live in the real world, like to really scratch away a living, employing people, it scares me, that's all. And as far as Israel goes, yeah, Harry Enton was on CNN today saying that the Democratic Party is now 57%. It swung from 17% pro-Israel to 57% pro-Palestinian. So that's where, I'm predicting that for years already, but that's where it's going. Maybe obviously, October 7th, and the Gaza war is an irritant, and some of that might come back in the other direction once there's peace. But that scares me too. And what I didn't predict is that the Republicans are now on a knife's edge. Trump is very pro-Israel. Everyone who called Trump an anti-Semite should be taken out and shot. But Trump is not an anti-Semite. That was such a calumny. But anyway, Trump is very pro-Israel, but a lot of MAGA people, a lot of people around him, the Tucker Carlsons, they are not pro-Israel. So support for Israel the bottom can fall out of that. And Israel's not doing itself any favors with these kind of stories where they, shooting. You take the best case of what Israel did with these people getting shot, which is having only one method of crowd control, which is firing fucking live ammunition to disperse crowds. Obviously, I think anybody who thinks that they actually were mowing people down on purpose, like somebody said, target practice, this is insanity.
Well, what do you mean by using a live ammo? You mean shooting in the air?
Shooting towards crowds. In other words, if you are delivering food, and obviously, you have hungry people, there can be stampeding, Hamas can sneak bombs in. Obviously, there's real risks here. You have to get extremely serious about the procedures here. I heard one Israeli reporter say that there weren't even signs, like people, God forbid, I believe this is true because it was Haviv Rettigur who said it. He's not exactly pro-Hamas. He said there was stories like people walking in the wrong direction because they really didn't know which direction to walk in. I don't know if these people were actually killed or not, but then, warning shots fired. Or maybe killed. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Obviously, this doesn't explain everybody's attitude about Israel. But like I said, it doesn't help. I'm very upset about that.
just getting back to the idea of affordable housing.
Yeah.
I mean, do you believe in that as a concept that we should have?
Other cities do have affordable housing.
Well, how do you do it without rent control? I mean, if the market rate is,
how do you have affordable everything else?
but if the market rate is just beyond the means of a teacher, should we and of artists?
You have to
should
build.
we
You have to build. You have to allow people to build housing. You have to increase the supply. You have to get rid of those people who shouldn't be in those rent controlled apartments because they're holding on to. You have people normally, like where I live in Westchester, you see it all the time. People move into a family, they raise their kids, then they become empty nesters, and then they move to a smaller house because they don't want to pay these taxes, which constantly go up, for this 5-bedroom house when it's just the husband and wife. So they move to a smaller house or they move out of town. In these rent-controlled apartments, you have these, like I grew up in the Upper West Side. I have these huge apartments, 5 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. They have 3, 4 kids. The kids all move out. And by the time the kids all move out, the rent is so cheap that people just keep the apartment. And they have these sprawling apartments where 2 people live.
and then the kids move in.
No.
Well, the kids, if they die.
Or they start illegally subletting. I'm just saying that you have to get everybody out of these apartments, let the market reach an actual price, let supply increase to meet the market demand. And then, yes, if you have a particular group of people who we feel are in the public interest, like teachers, let's say, then, of course, the tax base as a whole can write the teacher a check for rent. I mean, you don't take it out of the landlord's hide. If we all want teachers to be able to afford apartments in their school district, let's say. Mm-hmm. So the city can.
Well, I mean, how valuable is it to have a teacher that lives near the school?
I don't know. I'm following your logic here.
Okay.
I'm saying if you say, listen, we want.
Well, which professions? I wonder. I mean, people say you want to have artists here just because they make the city more interesting by being
Well,
here.
we used to have a thing for art. I think the artist thing. I think that ship has sailed too. But I'm just saying.
No, there's still a building on the west side that you can enter a lottery in for artists.
Yep. Okay. But my point is this: if we think that poor people can't afford food,
we give them a check.
That's right. We give them money for food. We don't order the restaurant to lower its prices. But somehow housing is treated differently. I understand emotionally. Well, it's not really different than food emotionally, but I understand emotionally housing is a very, as I said, it touches a mystic chord. We want people to have shelter. It's a basic requirement. But the price of it still responds to the same supply and demand as every other item in the world. And that's why Paul Krugman, who's more liberal economist than Paul Krugman, he's like, the one thing all economists agree on is rent control doesn't work. You can Google it. Paul Krugman on rent control. Anybody see his column on it from like 15 years ago, 2010 or something. Everybody knows it doesn't work.
And what about the anti-Semitic, fanning the flames of anti-Semitism, refusing to condemn, globalize the intifada? Like, this is insane.
Yeah, I'm very offended. I mean, it's not just in a vacuum. There are these phrases, globalize the intifada, from the river to the sea, and even anti-Zionist, that they use all the time as slogans, and they will not define them. Mm-hmm. And they know that every one of them has a menacing interpretation and not a ridiculous, not a hysterical interpretation, but an actual. The Intifada was when to this day when Abbas wants to push Netanyahu back, he says, "Oh, you don't want another Intifada, do you?" And Netanyahu does not interpret that to mean, oh, he's threatening nonviolent protest. Everybody knows what he means, and everybody knows what river to the sea means.
Well, just to explain, the Intifada was basically people blowing up restaurants and buses and
civilians, blowing up civilians. Yeah, and and none of these phrases are essential to a movement. They can. The slogan could be 2 states for 2 people. That's a very good marching cry. Like if the and everybody understands, why don't the Palestinians and their supporters march for 2 states for 2 people? Why do they prefer a river to the sea?
Well, because they don't want two states.
Right. And, they could say, I'm sure, no justice, no peace. I don't know what I mean, that's already provocative. But I'm sure there are phrases to globalize a movement that don't have to use words that are taken to mean violence or terrorism. And then even anti-Zionist, what does it mean? You're opposed to Israel's policies? Does it mean you are against people like me who believe that the Jews should have a country? Does it mean you want the eradication of the state of Israel?
Yes.
Well, does it mean, and when you say a one-state solution, you mean another Arab majority state? And by the way, this upsets me so much because does anybody not understand you're going to have a bloody civil war in this one state of an Arab majority? Does anybody not understand there will be no democracy, there will be no human rights, there will be everything, I'm sorry to say, but, everything that every other state of that nature has will descend on Israel, except with the gasoline of race or, ethnic hatred. It's insanity. And is it anti-Semitic? I don't know.
Well,
does it matter?
I mean, of course it's anti-Semitic or it's fanning the flames.
Or does it
again.
matter? Well, I've always said, does it matter if it's anti-Semitic? If it's destructive, and
But why is it hard to condemn that? Like, why is it hard unless you don't believe that, right? Like, unless you actually don't think that. That's the only reason I can imagine that somebody who's running for mayor for New York wouldn't want to say, I condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, unless you don't think that there's anything wrong with it.
He doesn't. He obviously doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. He obviously doesn't think there's anything wrong with it.
Well,
now, is this a city issue?
Insane.
I mean, we'd like to be represented by people who didn't feel that way. On the other hand, there might be more Muslims at this point in New York City than there are Jews. And they might
it could be a cold political move.
And they might have, he was an activist for this in college too. Was he founder of SJP or something? But, he, as Harry pointed out on CNN today, that's the way the wind is blowing. That's where it is. And the reason I'm hesitant to always call it anti-Semitic because I know that people are such idiots, I mean, they get swept away and uninformed, and they get swept away in this social justice stuff. And
also because we know people that feel this way, and we know them personally. We know that they're not anti-Semitic.
If you look at the moral panics that we lived through in the last 10 years, where huge numbers of people believed things which at this point now we realize not only were not true, but we're kind of already at the point like, how did everybody believe this? Like, how did everybody believe that Joe Biden was in his right mind? People were swearing to you. No, what we're seeing on the friggin', you don't need anti-Semitism or bigotry to explain this kind of, like, we're watching this guy. He's obviously, cognitively in a decline. And 50-something% of the country's like, no, he's fine. Or to me, and to maybe, it was obvious, or should have been obvious, that Trump was not a Russian spy, and everybody believed it. And what are the other things that the trans thing? Like, I think we are settling down now to the reasonable position where that we want all trans people to have fulfilling lives. We don't want any laws that are discriminatory. But that when people were looking at Leah Thomas in those big, broad shoulders in a one-piece female bathing suit with a bulge, and saying, no, that's a woman. And they get mad at you if he's like, I don't, what are you talking about? Like, this was some sort of peer pressure, temporary insanity, cultural overlay. And I'm just observing these things and saying, well, if you can see all that and understand it, then, like maybe, how much do you expect of people who are seeing poor people dying in Gaza and don't have any kind of deep well of information to put it in any kind of context? So of course they blame Israel, and sometimes they're right to blame Israel, but of course they say, we want one country where everybody has equal rights and votes. That's not like you need to be informed to be able to see past that and saying, no, you don't understand. That sounds good, but it's actually a recipe for horrors and for violence and for death and for killing and for misery. So,
By the way, did you ever get an apology or a retraction from that woman on Twitter that posted that clip of you?
Yes. Apology, no. They took down the clip, and people who jumped on me then sort of, oh, no, you were right. I looked at the clip.
Yeah, but those same people are going to do it again.
Wait, what happened?
Somebody took out 5 seconds of me saying something about...
Well, can I say what you said?
Yeah, sure.
Noam we were talking about trans women in women's locker rooms. And Noam said, I don't know if my daughter would be traumatized by seeing a trans woman's penis. Noam was thinking out loud about how traumatic that might or might not be for his...
I said, I find it very jarring, but I'm open to the idea that... And in the back of my mind, I was thinking about how people used to feel when they saw a white person and a black person together. Like, I understand that part of it is probably just a Pavlovian response that I'm having, and that probably is a good chance that it would not affect my daughter psychologically even one bit in terms of the trajectory of her life. I'm open to that idea. But having said that, I also said I'm against it, and I certainly wouldn't impose that on other people. You know what I've said many times.
So they just took out the part where Noam said, I don't think my daughter would be psychologically harmed by that. And
this guy hates women.
The people jumped on him, said horrible things. You're no father. This,
you hate women. You don't want women to have spaces.
Yeah, but also it was more vicious than even that.
Yeah, it was really bad.
And
but I was kind of laughing them all off.
It was the townspeople with pitchforks.
Who is the person who posted this?
Some women. I forgot who.
But I was kind of laughing them off. Like, I said, "What is you people? You're all psychotic." Like I didn't say anything like that.
Yeah, and they didn't put in the part where he, at the end of the day, where he said he came down on the side of, which I know is something you disagree with, Periel, is that trans women. He said, Noam said, should not be in women's locker rooms. But I know Periel disagrees with it.
Especially young girls' locker rooms, like my daughter's locker room, an 11-year-old's locker room.
I don't know that I agree with this, Leah.
Well, what locker room have
either? Like I
guess they do.
Yeah, like a health club.
Health club, might. Yeah.
Well, listen.
I don't know. I think that these arguments. This is going to upset you.
You want to talk about this? Because we've talked about this a million times.
Okay, fine. So move on.
And you've been wrong. You'll be wrong again. What else?
I don't know
Dan?
if I'm wrong. I want to talk about this Bob Vylan thing. You guys.
I don't know much about it. He's a guy from England, right?
At the Glastonbury.
Death to the IDF?
Yeah.
Death to the IDF. Yeah.
And
what kind of army chooses a name that rhymes with death? And then gets mad when people.
And he got dropped. First of all, he got dropped by UTA. And there was like a really big, and rightly so, pushback by like the festival.
I thought you said it was CAA, not that it mattered.
I was wrong. It was UTA, which is why I checked and corrected myself before I said that. I was shocking that Jews don't like to represent people who want them dead, right? I mean, first of all, every Israeli citizen, more or less, is required by law to serve in the IDF, right? So every Israeli, by definition, has been almost, 98% has served in the IDF. So basically what he's saying is to kill every Israeli citizen.
Maybe. I doubt that's what he's saying.
Well, I think that's...
You think if you asked him that, he would say, yes, I mean kill every Israeli citizen?
I don't care what he meant. That's what he said. I mean, what does that mean? He didn't walk it back and say, like, oh, that's not what I meant. Who gets on... Like,
I would imagine he meant any currently serving uniformed soldier.
Oh, okay. Like that's supposed to make it better?
Well, it makes it not anti-Semitic. It just makes it, he's choosing a side, and the other side of, if I said death to Hamas, then I don't mean death to Palestinians in general.
Well, first of all, I don't think that you can compare.
No, I don't think you can. But the question is this an anti-Semitic thing, or
I don't know if it matters that it's anti-Semitic or not. Like, if you want to criticize bad things that the military has done or the government, that's fine. Nobody's saying that you shouldn't do that. But this,
I'm gonna give you the answer. In my opinion, what is anti-Semitic in some way is that the world is on fire about something that's going on vis-a-vis Israel when they've never been on fire this way before about countless other.
Did you hear? I was listening to Barry Weiss, and she was saying that the amount of times the word genocide is the New York Times has used the word genocide is 10 times the amount of times they used it during the Rwanda genocide, something like that.
Yeah. Well, but this is not a genocide. Even that is, let's not get into it now. And in some way, the double standard is so extreme that it becomes impossible to explain away, other than something is juicing it up. Now, having said that, within that universe, death to the IDF is a kind of generic political statement. If you're looking for a slogan to chant vis-a-vis your opposition to Israel, and what I took from it, it doesn't matter what he said. To see that huge group of people chanting it, no matter what it was, even if they had been clever enough to choose something that is not on its face kind of incriminating, we'd still know what they meant. You know what I mean? It's not about the words anymore. It's about the world is on fire, seething with hatred, expressing it now more and more openly, and in violence against Israel, anybody who can be associated with Israel. And this started prior to October 7th, when professors were not allowed to speak at campuses, everything was Berkeley, on any subject if they were known to have been Zionist. So, it's a very, very bad situation. Yeah,
And the line between that and violence against Jews internationally has been completely destroyed. That line doesn't exist anymore.
I just want to exaggerate things. I hope they end the war now, because now that Iran is defeated in some way, they get taken care of Iran, Hezbollah. I don't see what choice they have now but to end the war. And hopefully when they end the war, things will calm down.
Listen, I hope they end the war too. I've been hoping they would end the war for months and months and months. I believe that this has very little to do with that war and has moved into a different space. And I think that the line that may or may not have been blurred or whatever that is, it's not about that. Most of these people, what they know about the war would fit in a fucking thimble. Okay? If you ask them to articulate anything, they cannot do it. And it's inciting violence against Jews all over the world. And that's a material fact, regardless of what you think about Gaza or Iran or anything else.
What else is there to talk about?
I don't know.
Dan's hair.
My hair, I did dye it for a time. Esty liked it dyed. Aruba Ray encouraged me to diet. I stopped dieting. Somebody actually had the nerve to tweet, "Oh, you're aging. You've aged so much in the past." Yeah, because I stopped dyeing my hair, unless there's something else about me that's getting older. But I still haven't dyed it in a while, so that's gray. And I've been getting more compliments on my way back to gray than I ever got when it wasn't gray.
I told you that.
I don't know.
I told
now,
you
maybe
that.
there's a middle ground where I could just ferment it, and it'd be like somewhere in the between dyeing it and full gray.
But you're conflating aging with looking better, and the fact is that
I did look younger the old.
You might look younger, but not better.
I don't think you look younger either. I think you look like you just dye your hair, and like I think that you have nice gray hair, and you should just embrace that.
It is shocking to know gray hair is a very, very, I think, explicit reminder that you're not the exception to the everybody dies rule.
Right.
You know, you're getting, I mean, you can see very clearly you're getting older, even if you feel okay, even if you can still run up a flight of stairs. I mean, I was never in shape, so there's really no decline there. But
that's not true either. And also, I think you should just embrace the fact that you're a guy and nobody cares that your hair is gray. Like,
Tiana, you say what from the young woman perspective?
Tiana, wake up.
I'm up.
I don't know if you recall. I don't know if you recall my dye. My dye days.
I don't. To be honest with you, I think I've only seen you like this.
Okay, so maybe.
You don't
Well,
remember-
I
You didn't
like
even
it.
notice.
It looks good.
You don't remember when Dan looked like a guy at the Second Avenue Deli putting the rolls in his bag?
No, I think it looks good, but I also like older men. So.
It is.
Woohoo!
First of all, that's sexual harassment.
Swing.
What was I going to say? I had something to say. and I
He's flustered.
forgot.
What else you like, Tiana?
I like gray hair. I like comedian.
Oh. If you weren't Jewish, Dan.
okay, while you're composing yourself, I would like you to weigh in on the Diddy trial as the last talking point.
I know nothing about
Oh yeah, what I was going to say is it's just weird that they can't get the color right. It seems like so easy.
Well, you went to like a random place that like Ray Ellen sent you to at like a corner
Ray Allen,
barber shop.
Figure Ray Allen. I mean, Ray Allen. You know,
Dan, you get what you pay for.
Yeah. You go to I'll take you to a nice salon.
Go to Bumble and Bumble. They'll do it right.
What's Bumble and Bumble?
Well, I mean,
is that a high-end
like
hair salon?
30 years ago it was, but
Whatever.
you know who you should go to is Juanita. 'Cause
Well,
she's actually an expert at hair.
I maybe just get the shampoo that kind of makes it a little less gray, but it does. You know,
No, the problem is you can't do that because you have a white complexion. Why are you laughing, Tiana? No, because what happens with a fair complexion is that there's this really awkward and obvious contrast. It just doesn't look right. When like black guys, I know they'll do like just for men, but you can't tell. It's just like if a black hair and like dark skin. It just you really don't see. But yeah, you need to you need to spend the money then. And the problem is, it's only good for a few weeks.
It's not going to happen. He's not going to do it.
it's not even the money. It's a pain in the fucking ass.
You don't need it. Move on. It looks good. Count your blessings. You have a gorgeous full head of hair. And
Noam doesn't seem to have a lot of gray, and he's got a few years
What do you
on.
mean?
His
Noam's
beard is quite
totally
gray. No, but not in his
gray.
head.
What do
His
you
beard is
mean?
very gray, but not on his
Are you?
head. I see it as just sort of a copper.
He's fully gray.
What are you talking
No,
about?
it's
My
not.
hair, my head is fully gray.
Not in his
Yes,
head, on
It's
his
not.
beard.
My beard is fully gray.
No, your beard is white and gray.
White is gray. There is no such thing as gray hair. Gray hair is white hair.
What color do you think your hair is?
The gray hair is not actually a gray hair. It's a hair without pigment. It's white.
Look, I don't
You think there's actually a gray hair?
Yes.
No.
It just looks gray when it's mixed in with the
Yes.
non-gray.
Yes. When you see a
Maybe.
guy who's completely gray, his hair is white. You've never seen a guy with completely gray hair.
Look, you guys are really wasting time here. It's ridiculous. It doesn't matter what color your hair is. You're guys. Nobody gives a shit. Now, women, on the other hand,
Yeah, it's tough.
God forbid,
It's tough.
it's like a crime against humanity.
I know it's not fair, but that's that. Women have all this power when they're young, and then the worm turns.
The worm?
The worm turns, right? It's not an expression.
I don't know. Is it? I've never
think
heard that
so.
before.
It's an expression, yeah.
Can we talk about Diddy for a second?
We don't know anything about Diddy.
We do. He was acquitted on the two.
On the racketeering. but convicted on
The two minor charges.
transporting a woman for prostitution or something like if you have put a woman on a plane and pay her for sex when she gets there, that's like worse than just paying a woman for sex.
Was any of this non-consensual?
The stuff.
Was anybody physically raped?
Well, I think that was the accusation.
Yeah, I think a lot of
but that
people-
he was not found guilty of that.
Thank you, Tiana. Now,
Transportation of girlfriends for prostitution is not a crime as far as I'm concerned.
no,
That's a
there was-
fucking travesty.
No.
I don't know anything about this trial, but nobody should be getting convicted of transport.
Right, I
Who
agree.
cares about prostitution of any kind?
Unless
in
it's like
2025.
Well, it could be the kind of thing where they were like, well, we don't want to convict him of the harder. We don't. It could be like a jury nullification thing. We're like, well, we know he's guilty of the racketeering, but we don't want to send him away for life. So we'll just say he's guilty of the bullshit charge.
No. There were women that were like severely abused and like.
But I don't think he was found guilty of
Okay,
that.
maybe not. But
He was found guilty of transporting women for prostitution.
So your point is maybe well
and
taken.
so maybe the jury just said, well, we don't want to send him away forever, so we'll just make him.
Because it was like life in prison. Now the thing that's crazy is that outside the courtroom when this came out, people were like spraying baby oil all over each other and like screaming and like rubbing their tits and like just
Why is that part of the
Well, that was part of
Yeah.
what he was alleged as freak party, where the freakouts were. It was called.
these gossip stories don't interest me.
This isn't a gossip story. This is like one of like the most famous men in America and powerful music moguls.
This is not about gossip. This is about a famous music mogul's sex life.
When the FBI came to seize his computers and all his stuff, they also found 1,000 bottles of baby oil,
Oh, okay.
which was part of the sex that he would do. So he would want. He would get these women in baby tubs and fill them with baby oil, and that's why he needed so many bottles. But it became like the going thing that this many bottles of baby oil were found. Like people are like, I could barely get through a bottle. I don't understand why he has so many.
Yeah.
He would have these parties called freak offs and like force his girlfriends to like have sex with other men. Like horrible things were
Well,
alleged.
force them? I mean,
Yes,
that was
force them.
How do you force them?
Well, I don't know. You are
With
like
drugs. He
See,
was
you
drugs.
you have as much knowledge of this trial as the anti-Israel protesters do about Gaza, and this is why it's like he forced. Like you don't know what you're talking about. You know how you feel about it.
Well, he could have. I mean, you could say he manipulated them psychologically.
He did.
Yeah, yes, you could, but she doesn't know.
No,
That's
I
my
do.
point.
I read
She's ready
about
to
it.
say it happened, but she has no idea.
But I think that the allegations, there were some allegations, I think, of non-consensual goings on.
drugs and psycho. I mean, he was insane. He beat the shit out of his ex-girlfriend. There's video of it. It's horrible.
Did they convict him of that?
I don't know. Did they convict him of that?
Statute of limitations.
No, I
probably-
think it
probably.
was just the prostitution thing.
Yeah, they were trying to get him for sex trafficking and
Now, sex trafficking means I assume it means,
I think it's bringing people over state line.
yeah, it was a lot of like sex trafficking, bringing people over.
but how does that
state
differ from
lines.
just transportating, the prostitution
the
thing?
people that he would hire to have sex with his girlfriends were prostitutes, and they would get taken with Diddy wherever he was to have these freak offs.
Look,
so I guess that's
it's
why they're
insane.
like, trying to get him on that stuff.
I'm going to wade into dangerous ground here, and everything has to be taken on a case-by-case basis, obviously. Within any scenario, you can present me.
They're going to cut this part out when they post it on Twitter. By the way.
Within any scenario, right. You can present me with a fact pattern, which I will say, yes, that guy needs to go to jail. That's a criminal. But in general, when a big famous guy is having parties and sex is in the air and there's baby oil and there's music and grinding and all of it. I don't know if I've seen this stuff a little bit in my life.
I saw Eyes Wide Shut, but other than that,
And, yeah, exactly. And people going into people's bedrooms and people going into hotel rooms or whatever it is. My general feeling is that the women involved are not naive,
Oh my God.
and that the likelihood is they're looking for a payday. The likelihood. Again, I need to know well, obviously the jury agreed with me. Obviously, we need to know the facts. That's why I said, an accusation of somebody being held down, physically detained, things like that. These are all quite different. But the idea that, I took some pills and then I woke up in the room with a...
Yeah, and he raped me when I was sleeping, and like.
Well, no, pills are a different story. Now that crosses a line.
Not unless they slipped your pills against your will.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you're going to parties that have...
If they told you it was one
rap
pill
stars
and another
and
pill.
rap stars and sex and drugs and pills and like, we know what this would look like in a movie. You cannot be a delicate flower. When you wake up, you were so fucked up, you had sex, whatever it is. I don't trust that. Absent a clear fact pattern, say, no, you don't understand. This is what happened. It's the same reason I was skeptical about the Mike Tyson charge. The woman went up to his room. It's just Mike Tyson in the room. She took her own underwear off. All things like, yes, he might have raped her. I don't know, but in general, I feel like among adults, when you go home with Mike Tyson to his hotel room at night and take your underwear off, you have to prove to me like because it sounds to me like, because, well, listen, this is Periel's looking at me. The only reason you should look at me that way is if the following: you don't believe that there are large numbers of people out there who are looking for paydays and who are looking to turn what is exactly the type of situation that I'm saying into a way to grab money from someone. And I'm telling you, we have people who pour water on the floor and then trip on it in order to sue us. And extrapolate that attitude towards people having sex with billionaires. And I'm saying there's a tremendous, huge incentive for these people to say, he did something to me, because they know they're going to get a settlement.
May I respond to that?
With the difference that accusing a famous man of rape carries a terrible cost in and of itself. You might get a payday, but
everything has to defer to the facts. That's what I'm saying. I don't know the facts. My general predisposition is like, show me the facts. Of course, if you show me facts or someone is raped, I'll say they were raped.
So here's the thing. I'm not saying that there aren't people out in the world who want to manipulate or have sinister motives. What I am saying is that a woman going up to Mike Tyson or anyone else's hotel room and taking off her underwear, she can change her mind for having sex at any point.
Yes, she can.
And... What is this?
Here's a breakdown. Racketeering, conspiracy, not guilty. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, not guilty. See, that to me, like, if he's not guilty by force, fraud, or coercion, send the man home. Case dismissed.
Well, he probably will get... I think technically it says here he faces a maximum of 10 years for each count, but the likelihood is he's not going to do very much time. If that's the only charge that has stuck.
Why wasn't him beating the shit out of Cassie that was caught on video?
Statute of limitations probably.
Yeah, I think it was because it happened so long ago.
Horrible.
But what the issue is, the blurred line here is that Cassie and other people voluntarily took drugs and also were given drinks that had drugs in them that many people can corroborate happened to them as well at a Diddy party. And so that's why people are like, he should have gotten convicted at least for the second line.
Now, do you think...
Because it wasn't enough, I guess, for the jury, they didn't go with that particular decision.
And by the way, on the Mike Tyson thing, in general, I think most people, although they won't say it out loud, sort of agree with me, because what we saw was that as soon as this guy, supposedly a brutal rapist, got out of prison, he was lauded. He's in the movies. He's starring on...
So is Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, no.
No, he's not.
Well, now he's not, but he was... I mean...
Right. I'm saying that the pop culture embraced Mike Tyson in a way that they should not have embraced somebody they really thought was a brutal rapist. That's just... It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if you really think somebody did something as god-awful as that, if that was the general belief, I don't think people would... Like, I don't think people are going to be embracing Bill Cosby anytime soon.
Isn't Bill Cosby, like, on tour for, like, a few years now? Like, performing at, like, theaters?
I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are on his side.
Yeah.
You know, but...
I think we just don't know what happened with Mike Tyson.
I have no idea what happened with Mike Tyson. I'm just using that as an example. And I think that
to this day, the only P. Diddy song I know is the Sting one, the one, the tribute he did to Biggie Smalls back in like 97 or even earlier. I don't know when it was, 97, something like that.
All right. So,
Tiana, do you think that at this point you know more or less about the war in Gaza than you do about Diddy's trial?
I think it's equal at this point.
freak off. Are we done?
I think so. So send in your mailbag. Send in your mail to the mailbag, podcast@comedycellar.com. So.
Let us know if you think Mike Tyson was guilty or not.
Let us know what questions you have that you want Noam to answer.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Bye.